A skeptic and a psychic walk into a virtual bar and have a great conversation. Listen in as I talk with my skeptical friend, Jon Michael, about investigating the paranormal. Welcome to the Peep Podcast. I'm your host, Nicolle, and I'm grateful you're here. The two big ideas behind the Peep Podcast are to show that the paranormal is more normal than most people think, and to connect the science to the psi, including ESP, psychokinesis, and intuition. Before we jump into this episode's interview, I want to take a moment to say how much I appreciate everyone that supports the show. You, the listener, my guests, the librarians at the Wake County Public Libraries, the Ghost Guild for their partnership on the Haunted Carolina programs and this year's Mystic Distillery program, and all my encouragers. I wouldn't be in my fourth year if it weren't for all of you. As a gift of appreciation, I'll be releasing the book version of my House of Horrors Choose Your Own Adventure program that I did for the libraries this year. I'm currently working on formatting it, and when it's ready, I'll let you know in my monthly newsletter. So if you're interested, but you haven't signed up to receive the newsletter, now's your chance. Go to peeppodcast.com, that's P-E-E-P podcast.com, and sign up for free. Now back to this episode's interview. Jon Michael is a paranormal investigator and a skeptic. He's also a friend of mine, with whom I've investigated allegedly haunted locations over the years. This conversation proves that two people on different parts of the believer to non-believer scale can have fun, respectful conversations and, shockingly, even agree on some points regarding paranormal investigations. He's currently building a website called Jon Michael Has Questions, and when it's ready for public consumption, I'll share it with my followers on Facebook and Twitter. Let's dive in with Jon. Hi, Jon. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, Nikki. I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am so happy to finally have you on the podcast. I think we've been talking about doing something like this for a couple of years now, and it's
Probably
finally
since episode.
happening. Yeah. Okay, I'm slack. I admit it.
Okay, no, I am too. It's fine.
It's one of those things you've been friends for a long time, and it's like, yeah, we'll get around to it. We'll get around to it. And then
Mhm.
thankfully, last time I said, does anybody want to be on the podcast? You answered the call,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we're doing it.
we're
Yay.
doing it.
So, uh, I'm going to start with the same question I ask almost every person I talk to for the podcast.
Mhm.
What got you interested in the paranormal?
I always get asked this question, and it's funny. It's actually hard for me to answer. Since I was a kid, I've been more, and I still am, morbidly afraid of death. I really don't like the idea of dying and that's it. Like it sounds awful. I want to live forever and experience everything and see what the heck's going on. And I think part of that is like a search for the answer to like the great question that every human being has ever had. I think that drives me. And I think that's part of the second answer is I don't know of a greater question you can ask. Um, Maybe even more so than like what is the meaning of life? Like, that's an interesting question, but what the heck happens after life, I feel like is an even greater question. So just a pursuit of what I think is a great question.
That is a totally fair answer. I mean, that's what it boils down to. So speaking of questions, what is this new thing you're getting started with?
Yeah. So You're actually the first announcement of your show, so
Sweet.
pretty exciting. Yeah. So a few months ago, I've always been on and off paranormal teams. And I was kind of off doing my own thing. Me and my buddy Michael Wynn decided to form a new team called Enigma Investigations to kind of do things different from other teams, and we can talk about that later too. Um, but this past weekend, I went to Para Unity, talked to my good friend Kenny Biddle, and just kind of decided that I really need to make a name for myself, whatever that means. And so I've decided to start kind of a new brand that I think anybody that knows me will think it fits, and it's going to be called Jon Michael Has Questions. Um, it's just going to be basically like I like what you're doing, like podcasts, YouTube videos, just striking up conversations and seeing where they go. And they'll specifically be paranormal related, but I might talk about other stuff, but it will be mostly paranormal related.
I love it. Especially since as long as I've known you, you've always had questions.
I do, and I tend to answer questions with a question. So
Yes. Yes. And speaking of Kenny Biddle, because he is known for being a skeptic,
Mhm.
um, that's kind of the perspective you tend to take too, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely say that I also am a skeptic, for sure. I I don't think it's a mistake to say like I don't believe in ghosts. I very much want ghosts to be real. I like desperately do. I think it would make the world like a cooler place. But for me personally, I don't believe. But I've got that, poster. I don't actually have the poster, but I would, in my mind, I have the poster like I want to believe up on a wall. So I'm a sprinkle of Scully and a sprinkle of Mulder.
Yeah. Slightly more Scully, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
I the reason that I wanted to have this conversation is because, my listeners know that I'm an energy healer
Mhm.
and sensitive, intuitive, empath, all that stuff. And you and I have investigated together in the
Mhm.
past, and we get along great. Obviously, we're friends.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to have somebody with a skeptical perspective come on the show and talk about, for example, how you do a paranormal investigation
Yeah,
with your skeptical hat on versus how I go in, go cold, see what I pick up on, and then try to figure out what's really going on. Um, Trying to stay based in reality and, you know, from my perspective, I need a skeptic to help keep me grounded.
yeah, for sure.
So, so when you are doing a paranormal investigation, what are kind of your tactics?
Yeah, so it's going to be hard to answer this question in an hour, but I will certainly try my best to make it as short as possible. For one, I have to kind of start off with like, what is a skeptic? Because I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what a skeptic is. And I think there's some people out there who have given skeptics a bad name. But skepticism isn't, like, I don't believe anything and this is dumb and I'm going to go out here and debunk everything and da 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 da. Like I do debunk, but that's the last step in the process. That's when I have a very heavy suspicion that what's going on, like whatever the claim is of a place, probably isn't a ghost at that point. That's when I begin to start debunking. But that's not step one. Um, and I think that's really cynicism. When you just don't
Yeah,
believe anything and you just want to poo-poo on everything, and you're because that is being closed-minded. And just also to talk about this, I promise I'll answer the question. Closed-mindedness is can be on both sides, right? Like you can have closed-minded believers, and you can have closed-minded skeptics.
right.
Um, and so for me, skepticism by its very definition is open-minded. It just means all skepticism is is it just means that until I believe something, I just have to have evidence for it. And if someone tells me something, I think that's great, but like I kind of need some evidence before I believe something. And I don't feel like that's too much to ask. And that's all skepticism is. Like we are skeptical when we're told something until you let us know it's real and then we're good. So to start off, the way uh, that I like to do investigations and the way we'll be doing them at Enigma is so a lot of ghost hunters on TV, and a lot of, and we all know like TV is just, it's not real life. Like we, I think
Right.
most of your listeners know that. If you don't, TV is not real life. I think you can attest that many times investigations are boring and you're just sitting there, nothing's going on.
Right.
Uh, but I think a lot of teams, and I would say most, tend to investigate places. And what I mean by that, let's just pick Mordecai.
Okay.
Although I'm not targeting a specific team, but a whole bunch of teams, or a few teams that have investigated Mordecai. And I have been on some of these investigations. So it's very much as a critique of myself as well. Um, which also I don't get everything right. I just want everyone to know that too.
Okay.
Uh,
Pause for a second because I
yeah.
want to let the listeners know because some of them are in other countries.
Mm,
Mordecai is Mordecai Historic Park in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it includes the Mordecai House, the Allen Kitchen, the Andrew Johnson House, and a number of other buildings. It is the oldest existing house on its original foundation in Raleigh,
mm.
and it is famously, allegedly haunted. Now
I
you
like
can
that.
go.
I like that. Allegedly haunted. See, there we
Yes.
go. I like that. Um, Yeah, so what a lot of teams will do, let's just take Mordecai as an example. And again, I'm not zeroing out any particular team. A lot of teams will hear that a place is haunted, or they'll read stories that a place is haunted, or maybe they've even had experiences of like a place. And they tend to tackle the place. They'll show up at the place. They may make a plan like we'll take this building and this team over here will take this building. And they'll go through and they'll do like EVP sessions, and things of that nature, different kind of paranormal techniques, like whatever. Using some use equipment, some don't use equipment, most do. At the end of the day, uh, that is pseudoscience. And what I mean by that is that's just not how science works. That's not a scientific method. And so what I like to do is to actually use the scientific method. I think a lot of times people hear science, they think cool gadgets and fun things, which definitely can be science, but it's more about the method. And so for me, when I hear XYZ happened at Mordecai. There was a weird sound, or I experienced something at Mordecai, or this weird thing happened at Mordecai. I think that's great, but I go after the claim, and try to understand like what could have made the sound. Why did someone feel a certain way? How do you explain like what someone saw? Um, and if we can come to the conclusion that they saw a ghost, well, now we know Mordecai is haunted. We also know that ghosts are real. You know what I mean? So like it
Yeah.
answers all the questions in one stroke, versus just tackling is Mordecai haunted. I think there's some assumptions in that question. Uh, and so for me, I tend to start at the claim. And also, a lot of teams, again, I'm very guilty of this, and sometimes it's just because that's what time the places are open. But a lot of times claims will occur during the day. I did an
Mhm.
informal survey at Unity. Most people who I talk to, most of their stories about paranormal experiences that they've had occur outside of investigations, occur during the daytime.
Mhm.
And as should be expected because we're awake during the daytime.
Right.
Um, and I always found it interesting that a lot of the stories and experiences and claims that we hear happen during the day, but then we show up at night and turn the lights off and ask questions in the parlor when the claim is on the staircase at 3 p.m. on a Friday.
Right.
Um, so so for me, it really is all about tackling and trying to understand the claim.
And as an example, using Mordecai, because I think I saw this in progress one time. There is a claim there that the piano
Mm,
is played by unseen hands
hmm
or plays itself or however you want to put it
hmm
on a regular basis. I'm pretty sure you were on this investigation with us when
I I
you kind
actually
of,
was not on that
oh, you
investigation,
weren't on
but I
it?
know the story, and it was
Okay.
Nick Winling, um, who we both know very well. He's the one that
Yes.
solved this mystery, and
Oh,
that's sorry, that's another
don't
thing.
tell him I was trying to give you credit for his.
Ah,
I'm in
well,
trouble now.
you can just say I did it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it was Nick Winling. And he, tried to understand. Like, I think he even heard it with his own ears, like the piano playing, and no one was in the room. I'm not 100% sure what that investigation looked like, but I do know, excuse me, I do know that he was able to um, run some kind of like, science-based experiment and figured out that it was due to the trains nearby.
Mhm.
When they ran at a particular time, it would make a perfect vibration that would make it sound like the keys were playing. So that's a great example.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it wasn't me.
Okay. Well, Nick is the poster boy tonight.
Yes. Why isn't he on the show?
Um,
I mean,
he's he's loved by everybody. He's too
he
busy
is.
for me.
He is.
I'm just
That is
kidding.
one thing I will say about Nick, is everybody loves that guy.
Um, don't worry, we love you too, John.
Ah, it's fine.
But that is a good example of, how uh, taking a look at the situation and all the possible circumstances, you can come up with an actual explanation for something that people have been saying, the piano plays itself for probably decades in
hmm
this house. And then just some really good critical thinking skills showed,
hmm
sadly, that the piano does not play itself, although, I prefer to think that the um the mundane explanation is the best one because I'd hate to think of some poor soul just playing the piano all
For sure.
alone.
Yeah,
That's
and
so
and to your
sad.
point too, I agree. It is sad to an extent. Like, yes, like I wish, again, in my heart of hearts, my black skeptical heart, I wish that it was a ghost also playing the piano. But I think it's just as well, maybe not just as cool, but it's still pretty cool that a train from miles away can make a vibration that affects a key. And that's, to me, that's the cool thing about science. And I think that some people think that skeptics are these like boring guys that walk around with calculators or something. I'm not really sure. But every time, seriously, like every time I have done an investigation and was able to show there was a natural explanation, not a supernatural one. It was still fascinating and
Mhm.
fun and really cool to do. So like I know that like sometimes I can be a buzzkill, but like I hope I bring something to the party. Like I know you maybe were expecting vodka and I brought Bud Light, but hopefully it's still satisfactory. But so
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and that's honestly, that's what we should do as paranormal investigators is look for those mundane explanations
hmm
first. And sometimes they're more complicated than you would think. Like,
They can
I
be nuts.
mean, yeah, I mean, you could think, well, maybe a mouse is running across the piano. That's like a really easy thing. But then you'd have to have
hmm
mice in the house, and they take very good care of the house. There aren't mice in the house. So something more complicated, like the vibration of a train causing the
hmm
piano keys to tinkle at tinkle. I said tinkle. Okay, I'm an adult. Sorry. The vibration of the piano keys, the resonance.
Hmm.
through, a train that's what, maybe half a mile to a mile away. It's not that far away, but you don't see it from the house.
Right. Right.
To be able to cause that sound and make people think that there is a ghost playing the piano
Hmm.
is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a mundane explanation, but it's way more complicated than you think most mundane explanations would be.
I can give you another one real quick that I was actually on, so I can take credit for something. Um, but I was on another team, and we were at some house. I don't remember what the heck the house was called, what town it was in. It all runs together in my mind. It was in Virginia, and it was a private house. And the lady, I don't know if she was like scared out of her mind, but she definitely had some concerns about her house. And she had this Halloween like decoration. It was like a phone, and it would make noise whenever you crossed it. And she left it up because it would just randomly make noise, and she was like terrified. There was other stuff going on that we also were able to help out with. Some stuff that we couldn't, but there was some stuff that we were able to help out with. Um, but she left this one thing up. And it was right by her door, and she swore that there were like spirits or something walking across it because there's no other explanation in her mind. And we came up with like a couple of different hypotheses, can never say that word. And none of them worked. Not a single one. We thought it was her cats. Well, they're like, of course she's got cats, like walking across. But like we realized like the way the laser shot out, the cats would just it's too tall for the cats to ever walk across. Even if they were like gonna jump, like it didn't work. Like we literally were like going really fast through, and like it wasn't going off. I'm like, this is so weird. And then long story short, I had this epiphany that she had like a door, like a solid wood door with kind of like a glass surrounding like on the outside. I'm
Hmm.
not an architect, so I don't know what that's called. But the laser was rated for 3 feet. It went a lot further than 3 feet. It actually went out, and I realized it because Nick walked by outside. Well, maybe Nick did something, but he was just walking by. The laser went through the glass and went literally to the like all the way to the house next door,
Oh,
and
wow.
he was able to trigger it just by walking through the yard. And that's what was going on. And she had like construction next door, so there were people just constantly crossing by the laser. And it was just fascinating to see how far this laser could go through glass too. I don't know, it was just really, it was a cool and fun experiment. If you just went by the rating, well, it only says 3 feet, but clearly it went longer than that.
Way
So
farther.
that's another example. That was fun to figure out.
Yeah. And that's another point is you helped her out.
Hmm.
Like the to be able to find a more natural explanation for something when somebody is freaked out in their own house, to
Yeah.
be able to explain it and say, this is the situation. We just proved that this laser goes all the way out to the yard. So anybody who walks past is going to trigger it. And that's why it seems like you're getting activity when nobody else is in the house. They
Right.
aren't in the house, they're across the yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to give somebody the chance to sleep more comfortably at
Hmm.
night or to be in the house by themselves when they've been a little freaked out over it, that's it. To me, that's, well, it's better than proving that you have a ghost, really.
Sure.
I
Yeah. 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 I get
mean,
that.
unless you really want a ghost, but
Right.
most people don't. That's why they call
Yeah.
us
Right.
in.
Right. Yeah. And I think it goes back to like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it's like how many people that have just stopped. Like a lot of people would say, like, well, I like to debunk stuff. And how many people would have done one or two things and it didn't work out and then just made the conclusion, must be ghosts.
Right.
Uh, and so that's why like we just don't stop till we find an answer. I don't know means I don't know. That's okay. Um, so yeah, but I think that's all I wanted to say about
Um, okay, so are there any places that you are like you would avoid investigating, or the flip side of that, are there any places you really love to investigate?
I mean, I can answer both of those. So for one, that I tend to not like doing personal residences myself. In my opinion, and I'm not saying all the time, I'm just saying many times there is a mental health element to some of that, which I am just in no way qualified to
Mhm.
assist with. And you never know when you're walking into something if it's just someone that's scared or just someone that maybe that isn't scared, but just there's cool stuff going on in their house and they're trying to understand it, or if you really are walking into a situation where there is like a mental health issue. And so I personally won't be doing any more private residences unless if like I know for certain, like
Mm.
if it's like someone I know, I'll do. But I don't want to take the chance. The other thing, like I have really been getting soured to the entire death tourism industry.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of, paid investigations. When most investigations you have to pay a crap ton of money to do. And a lot of those people are just pocketing that money or maybe sensationalizing and sometimes even making up history. And ultimately to the detriment of the people who live lives at the places where they are. Um, and I don't want to financially support that.
Mm.
And so even if it's like a really cool place, like if I find out that history is just being created or history is there's like a heavy assumption that so and so took their own life. But we don't know. It's just like you're defining like this person by one tragic event that you don't even know when they had this entire rich full life.
Right,
You know what I mean? And now you
right.
get money off that. So I tend to avoid those places. I will go literally anywhere. If someone wants me to go somewhere and has questions, outside of those two big things, I will go anywhere. For me, um, it's funny, things tend to not happen around me. But like I so because of that, I like to go places just with some kind of like cool historical value that like I just couldn't do anywhere else. I'm a big fan of, being able to go behind the curtain and like actually walk around on history.
Mhm.
To me, that's worth it. Like I'll do any place that's like a cool historical place, like the Battleship. It was just,
Yeah.
it's just North Carolina. Um, I could walk around there for hours. So
Oh
give me a
yeah.
place with like cool historical value and I'm there.
Yeah. I totally get that. I avoid um well, like you said, the ones with a made up history just give the rest of everybody a bad name. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
it's so bad. And when you realize that somebody's been doing that just to try to capture part of the market and basically lying
Hmm.
to make money. I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. That's no good, and I'm not going to support that.
Hmm.
But I also tend to avoid the places that have like the super negative stories, mostly because
Hmm.
I'm an empath and I just don't want to expose myself to that kind of energy. But,
Hmm.
like um Waverly Hills is supposed to have a creeper. Now, well, I'm
Hmm.
not going to Waverly Hills. I'm not interested in
Right,
creepers,
right.
like no, thank you. But I'm the opposite. I will tend to do the residentials because of what we were just talking about, being able to help
Hmm.
people sleep in
Yeah.
their own beds. But I have, because I'm willing to do that, I have had to deal with some people who I'm pretty sure had more of a mental illness issue than a ghost issue.
Right.
And I'm a lot pickier. I mean, first off, I didn't choose that investigation. That was somebody who was leading the group, who
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, let's go check this one out." And I was told that the voice in her head was telling her to kill me. And at that point, I'm like, I'm never coming back here again.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I'm going to think twice about taking some of these
Sure.
cases. Thank you very much. So I'm a lot more cautious than I used to be. Um, but yeah, there are the places like the Battleship and the Ferry Plantation up in Virginia Beach has some really cool history to it and lots of uh personal experiences, and it's the House of a Thousand Voices and all that. So
Mm,
there's
mhm,
like paranormal curiosity reasons to be there, but it's also just a really cool old house that has
mhm.
seen a lot of history.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
so if you were to go into a place like that, like the Battleship or
Mhm.
whatever, we kind of started talking about it, but I didn't know if there was more to it. You know, you start with the science and not necessarily the place.
Yeah.
So,
So for me, like, let's just take the Battleship. You know, I think it depends on like a few things. Like, am I going with like a tour group? I don't think the entire tour wants to stand around while I take a ruler and measure stuff, you know what I mean? So I'll usually just kind of go with the flow and stuff like that. And maybe ask other people questions during that. Like, what are you doing? What's that tool do? Why do you think it works? But So for me, like if I was able to like investigate the Battleship and I could afford it by myself or with like a team of people, yeah, like I would definitely look at, there's been like a conversation about like the torpedo room, that got torpedoed and some sightings and some voices that have been heard in there. There's been like our own, well, a former team I was a part of, had uh, like caught on footage, like the beds clanking, which is interesting because they were recently giving a presentation, and I noticed in the video one of the beds move that we had never seen before. And I pointed that out to the leader. So that's a step in the right direction. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
we're getting there. And so it's just figuring out like what are the stories, what are other people's experience, and let's just figure out what it is. And maybe in the process of figuring it out, um, we can find some kind of answer. And that's my thing. Like I just whatever the answer is,
Mhm.
that's what like I want my beliefs to align with truth, whatever the truth is. And if that's the truth of a sailor is actually talking from beyond the grave in a torpedo room, I think that's amazing. And
Right.
or if the truth is that sound is carrying in a weird way, I also think that's amazing. I want the truth, whatever that looks like. um, so that's where I would start. I would start with let's figure out the claims, ask if we can go in the middle of the day instead of at nighttime, which I will get told no, and that's fine. Um, I would also leave the lights on. I have always found it funny that investigators turn the lights off and then turn their flashlights on. Like, why didn't you just turn the lights on? Or they'll put up these like crazy laser grids. Like, just like, how bright that is? Like, turn the lights on. Like you could actually see if you turn the lights on. Um, I, you know, Sorry if there's any investigators out there. I'm not making fun of you. It's just, again, it's just my question. It's like, why do we
Yeah,
investigate in the dark? Like,
right.
and I know, like, I know why, because it's scarier. I mean, that's the
Well,
honest.
there's also, the idea that if
Sure.
you turn off one sense, the other ones are heightened and that
Right.
sort of thing. But I mean, the same thing for me. If somebody tells me that they have an experience regularly at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't want to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why? Why would I do that to myself? I'm getting old. I don't like staying up all night anymore.
Yeah. And I hear you with the experience thing, and I always hear that too. Like, if you turn off, and it is true to an extent. Like, if you're in the dark, you do have to rely on your ears more, and you tend to hear better. With that being said, uh, humans have evolved in such a way where our eyes are our best sense, and so if we're getting rid of our best sense to use senses that aren't as good, that confuses me. Now, if the claim is specifically, I heard something, I did not see something, I can see a case where like you may turn the lights off just to see if you could replicate the hearing, or if the claim specifically happened in the dark.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Like it makes sense. To do that. It's just more of like as a rule. Like we will always turn the lights off no matter what. For me is a little, it's just a little confusing. And it's one of the things like I ask people to like think through, like, why are you doing this? And
Yeah.
a lot of times you'll hear the "it's been said" or
Ugh.
people say, and it's just who said? Like why? Like why did they say?
Right.
Um,
It's part of the lore now.
right.
That's it's been
And
handed down through generations of
mhm,
paranormal investigators. You must turn off the lights.
for sure. Yeah, and exactly. And that's the thing. Like you're right, it is the lore. But and to an extent, like knowledge does come through lore. Like in prehistory, that's how we pass along traditions.
Hmm.
But we have a better way of doing things now, and that's with science and critical thinking. And we don't. Lore is important. I'm not saying it's unimportant. It's just you know you have to. Again, my thing is question everything. I even question myself. Like I am not right in everything. Like I will be the first to admit that there is something I'm wrong about. I don't know what it is. I would stop doing it, but like I know that I'm wrong about something in my life, and so I have to constantly question myself because that's how we arrive at truth. If you constantly say, "Is this true? Let me take a second and think about it," that you're sharpening your knife, and that knife is either going to get sharper or it's going to break, and then you'll have a new knife, and it's totally fine. And so. Uh, and that's my thing is just asking questions, never stop asking questions, and just challenge your own beliefs. Like I challenge mine every day. Because again, I know that I'm wrong about something, man. I know it. So and also, like I'll say this to you, I think it's great to be wrong. It sounds weird. Um, but whenever you're wrong and you realize you're wrong, you get to learn something new. Like I don't
Yep.
like being right, because that means I didn't get to learn something. Um, I like to be wrong. It just means like I have an opportunity to improve myself and to get better and to learn. I
Hmm.
think that's great. And so sometimes I hear people kind of come at me like, well, you just think you're right about everything. And I hope I don't ever think that way. But yeah, like I want to be wrong. Like again, like I'm on your side. Like
Yeah.
I want that ghost playing the piano. I want that sailor to be in the torpedo room. Like I want to have something happen. It's just for me, and in my search and using the tools that I have not found that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
So you've
yeah,
never, this might be a loaded question. You've
that's
never
okay.
had anything happen to you that you could not readily explain.
That's a great question, and it's different. It's a different question from have you ever seen a ghost?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people ask that question, meaning have you ever seen a ghost? So,
But that's not what
so
I'm asking.
correct, right? And I love that question. Absolutely, yeah. I've had some things that I cannot explain. And I will put an asterisk beside that and say yet. Um, and and I think sometimes people, when they hear explain, that means a normal explanation, but no, it could mean paranormal explanation. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've had some things that I cannot explain yet. Um, but like the battleship, the noise that was being made in that video, I've attempted two or three times now, like an hour, I think each time at least, trying to recreate that and figure out what it could be, and I have failed every single time. And you know, but just going to a presentation and then seeing the bed move that I never saw before,
Yeah.
you constantly get closer to some kind of answer.
Yeah.
For
And
me, I think it was, oh no, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, you still have to ask, why did the bed move?
Right. Sure. Right. Absolutely. the bed moved for a reason. Now we got to figure out why that happened.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what was making the noise. We figured out finally where the noise is coming from. Now we have to figure out, well, why did the bed move? And that's the next question. And that may lead us to another question. Um, and that's, for me, that's the fun part. It's solving mysteries like kind of one step at a time. I mean, I think the weirdest thing I ever saw, um, and still trying to figure out, is me and Nick, again, Nick Windling, always trying to take my glory. We're I am blanking about where we were. Again, I have been to way too many places, and so it kind of all runs together. But we were at I believe, oh man, was it Moundsville? I think it was Moundsville Penitentiary. And it was during a thunderstorm, and there's a reason I think that's important. It was during a thunderstorm, and this is a long time ago. This is when I first started. We were setting up equipment. I was on a whole other team then. We were setting up equipment, and both Nick and I looked up. We were in the cafeteria. Nick and I looked up, and we saw, and I hate using this word because you know how much I hate these things. But that's just how I have to explain it. Nick and I saw what looked like a blue orb, like move across the wall. Um, and it wasn't like a split second thing. Like I would say it was probably like a second and a half. Uh, and we have tried everything we could to figure out what the heck it was. Um, we've tried flashlights, like because Eric, we had another guy there named Eric Singleton, and he was facing away from, so he didn't see it. So we thought maybe he was bending over, maybe like hit his flashlight, and we kind of miss. Like I don't like the senses. I think the senses can often lie to us.
Mhm.
I don't think we have perfect senses. And our brain tries to put together things that may not be real. And so we tried, the flashlight to see if was it like Eric's flashlight. We tried that. We tried pointing a flashlight in the window next door. Just it does. It's one thing to get close. It's not even close. The way the flashlight, even like a high beam flashlight, the windows are just break the light completely up.
Mm.
Um, I seriously, I almost think that it could have been ball lightning. Like that's how, just I don't know what it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it was in the middle of like a lightning storm, but we also just haven't had a good opportunity besides that one time to ever try to explain that. So that's on my bucket list of like trying to figure out what the heck
Like
that
go
was.
back and try to recreate it some more.
Yeah, like go back to that particular location and
Yeah.
try to figure out what
And
was
because
going
it
on.
was during a lightning storm, and you said it was blue orb. I mean, it wasn't on the wall, it was out away from the wall.
And that's the hard thing too, is, this has been years at this point, and like, memory just changes with time.
Oh yeah.
I would like to say that it was away from the wall, but like just even sitting here now and thinking about it, it's like, was it or was it against the wall? Like I just don't
Yeah.
remember. That's one of the reasons, like for me, personal experience, I think personal experience, like I think they're important, but at the end of the day, I think they're important to the person having the experience.
Hmm.
But in terms of, an external importance, like an objective importance, like unfortunately, they don't hold a lot of water. Even my personal experiences don't hold a lot of water for people outside of me. Um, and often things agree with me, such as courts, like testimony, just is secondary evidence. Physical evidence is primary. But I don't know. It's so hard for me to remember exactly what in the heck happened. And at the same time, because it's hard for me to remember, will I ever be able to replicate it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that's why again, like I try to like now I would do things different. If I was there now and I saw that, I'd be like, everyone freaking stop what you're doing. We're figuring this out. For one, the lights wouldn't have been off. But two, you know, we would have just immediately we would have like abandoned the game plan, figured out what the heck that was.
Right.
But you know, I was like my second year doing this, so I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't, but even less so back then.
But then
Um,
also, if the lights had been out, you might not have seen it.
sure,
I mean, if the lights had been on, you might not have seen
yeah,
it.
possible, certainly. Um, and that is one thing. If something is like giving off light, it's going to show better in the darkness for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's just are ghosts illuminated? Like I don't know. I mean, no one knows.
Are
Uh,
they, or, what are shadow people? Are they really shadows? I don't.
right,
I
right.
my favorite answer is I don't know.
Hmm.
I want to know, but I have no answer. I've been doing
Yeah,
this forever. I feel like I've been doing this forever. Been doing this
yeah.
about as long as you have.
No,
After a while, it starts to feel like forever.
no, I get
Um,
it. I
but
know what you
like you do hundreds of investigations and you get no closer to having an
mean.
answer, but that insatiable curiosity keeps you looking into things,
Yeah.
and my favorite answer when people ask me things, especially like when I'm doing the library talks or whatever, is I don't know. Like
Hmm.
the last thing I want anybody to do is call me an expert on something that I don't think you can be an expert on.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to be the smartest person in a room because then I can't learn anything. Like I am here to, like, you ask questions. I don't ask as many questions as you do, I don't think. But I like the mystery of it.
Hmm.
And I'd rather say I don't know and keep the mystery alive if I don't have an answer,
Hmm.
than reach for something that I can't repeatably prove. So it goes back
Right.
to the scientific method. Like, if you can't repeat it, then how do you know that that's actually the answer?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree with all that. And that's kind of one of the things too why I try to avoid personal experience. And again, not saying it's not important. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, personal experience is secondary to something that is testable, like a claim of some kind. And sometimes those can be the same thing, but there are like experiences that you just can't test. There's no way to do it. I was feeling a certain way, um, things of that nature, which I mean, there are some things you could do to test those, but a lot of times, like personal experience can be incredibly meaningful to someone having that happen. And like, I'm not here to like if something important happened to you, I think that's great. Like if you've got questions about it, we can talk about it. But I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, you're just feeling something, you goon. That's your personal experience, and if you want to talk about it, we can. If not, I'm glad you had that happen, and I'm jealous. But for me, looking back at that, in a lot of ways, it kind of falls into the personal experience category just because of like how much time has passed. It
Mhm.
has kind of turned into like seeing that orb or whatever the heck. Again, I hate orbs so much. Seeing that um it has turned into like more of like kind of like a lore thing for me because I don't even know if I could replicate it now because it's been so long. And so
Yeah.
it might just be one of those things where like I have no idea, man, and that's okay. Um,
Yeah. It keeps the mystery alive.
yeah.
I mean, and that is the other thing. Like, you know, I always say ghosts don't perform on demand. So if
Mhm.
ghosts are a real thing and they used to be a human, a living human, and now they're a deceased human, or however you want to think of ghosts, they they probably still have free will.
Mhm.
Well, you come into my house, and there's the reason that I don't suggest instigating or being rude to try to get something to happen during an
Mhm.
investigation. Um, you come into my house and you're rude, I'm not going to perform.
Right.
I'm just going to wait for you to leave because you're a jerk, that kind of thing. So like the whole the if they don't feel like if they air quotes, y'all can't see
Yeah,
me,
I
I'm
got
doing
you.
air quotes. If they don't feel like performing and then they won't, well then you have, but they do perform for somebody else. There's no way to get repeatability there. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be this lore factor when it comes to paranormal investigations.
Yeah, and that's why, like in a lot of ways, like, if you choose to do something like an EVP session or, any kind of I'm also doing air quotes, like classical paranormal technique. I think there are ways you can improve upon that, or at least do things to make it more scientific. And that's, if let's just say um, a ghost wants to perform, uh, as you would say, like for the night, and you do have like an opportunity to talk with someone that has passed from this life into the next, um, which again, I don't think can happen, but it'd be great if it did. Ask questions, not like don't say, "Will you knock twice if you're here?" That's interesting, but um, ask, "Can you tell me something that only you would know?"
Mhm.
And that way, like I can go to like an archive or I can go somewhere and find something, and then you have now that's interesting, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay, you heard two knocks because you said knock 15
yeah.
seconds after you asked the question. Like, is that interesting? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But if you do choose to do like an EVP session, ask false. It's called falsifiability in science, and that's like make like a truth statement, make a claim. If you're here, tell me something that only you could know that I don't know, and tell me like where a buried treasure is. Tell me a secret. Like tell me something.
Yeah.
Um, and then in our life, we can go and look up that record or go discover the buried treasure or something like that. That's interesting. Um,
Yes,
so
please, let's go discover the buried
yes, that'd be
treasure.
great. So, so yeah, I would suggest like asking falsifiable questions.
Mhm.
I would hope if a ghost is talking to a human, they would want to help the human also prove their existence too. I know I would. Like, if I become a ghost, I'm gonna be doing all sorts of crazy stuff. They'll be like, I'm real. Um, and so because I would want other people to know. I often find it fascinating. This is a tangent that ghosts tend to be homogenous, and what I mean by that is often people will talk about ghosts as if they're all the same. Like all ghosts um certain go or like most ghosts like will not do XYZ if you don't do XYZ. It's just like I know like if I'm a ghost man, like for me personally, like you said, like as you're if you're a ghost and someone comes to your house, you wouldn't talk to him. Like if someone comes into my house and calls me a funny word, it would make me laugh. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, you're probably right. And so and that's fine. Like I would still do what I could to like make them understand like I'm real. And I think I would
Mhm.
do more than knock on a wall. And I think and again like it sounds like I'm making fun of this stuff and I'm not. But I'm
Right.
just thinking about it from like I have to think about it from a ghostly perspective. If I was a ghost and I was trying and I had to like summon energy and that was difficult or hard to do. Why am I doing something that can be misinterpreted as, like a pipe uh,
Hmm.
changing temperature or as like a house creaking. And that's what I mean like ghost homogeneity. Like they all seem like they do the same thing.
Hmm.
Is that a testament for ghosts are all the same, or is that a testament that lore is really what's running us on investigations and we're misinterpreting the reality around us?
Right.
Uh, so, um, you know, For me, I think that's we're misinterpreting reality around us. But I will leave that up to you, dear listener, to figure out. So, um, and so yeah, I would just ask for if you're going to do an investigation and you choose not to do it like I do, which is totally fine, at least do things in a way that aren't up for interpretation. Get rid of the interpretation as much as you can and do things as objectively as you can. Um, and don't ask for knocks. Like that could be anything. Like
Yeah.
it really can be. Don't ask for things, you know, if you're here, make this device light up. Um, know how your
Yeah.
equipment works, why it works, like why are ghosts giving off EMF fields, like electromagnetic radiation, or are ghosts made of copper with a flowing electron field? Because that's what EMF is. Like
Right.
it's electricity moving through a magnet. So why are ghosts made of magnets? Like what is
Yeah.
going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and again, not making fun of it. It's just it's a legitimate question. Like
Yeah. I
um
mean, that's the thing. Like investigators will use these tools that are created to do something completely different in,
mhm,
the real world, um, like measure electromagnetic fluctuations for people who are working with electricity,
right.
or
Yeah.
we had to stop using K2 meters for that reason. You get false positives.
Hmm.
And if you are not thinking critically about it in the moment, you could easily be like, wow, we've got an evil spirit here because it keeps
Yeah.
saying yes to all the dark questions.
Right.
Well, maybe it's because you keep asking darker and darker questions because you keep getting a yes. And this
Right.
happened on an investigation. And then we realized it was flashing whether we were asking questions or not because there was something going on with the HVAC system.
Nice.
And if we hadn't had a skeptic with us on that investigation, we might have still thought there was something else going on. So it just goes back to we need the skeptics.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, it's really like, do I want everyone to be a skeptic? Absolutely. Uh, but you
I'm a
know,
lost cause, John. It's
and
okay.
that's okay. What I think for me, like a minimum ask is just to don't stop asking questions. That's like a minimum
Right.
ask. Um, and try to make them not loaded questions if you can, but or questions with assumptions. That happens a lot too. But
Yeah.
try to like think like, what assumptions am I making? I think that's important. Just like self-reflection, like why do I believe what I believe? And in philosophy, we call this epistemology.
Hmm.
Uh, like like how do you know what you know? I think everyone they took just like a few minutes thinking through how do I know what I know? Why do I believe what I believe? Where does it come from? Like, what are the origin of my beliefs? Because I was born at this particular time, at this particular country, like, is that coincidence? Like, is, like if you're born in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you're of like a particular culture, of a particular belief system, is that a coincidence? Or, is your culture, belief system, whatever else, 100% correct truth? And so I think it is just important just to take a second and to question your beliefs. In philosophy, we call that like a justified belief, where it's one thing to believe, but it's another thing to have justification for your beliefs. Um, and just if no one gets anything out of this, I would hope, even beyond the paranormal, if you just question what you believe. Some people like look, I grew up like, very religious household. Um, and sometimes it was like, we don't question certain things. But uh I would say that my Bible says something different. and but about questioning the Lord God in Psalms, but that's another place, another whole other conversation I won't get into. But I think it's worth like taking time and just asking good questions, and because like I said, you'll either sharpen your sword or you'll break it, and you'll find a better sword. Um, so there's nothing bad will come of just questioning.
Right.
You promise you won't get hurt. You may, I mean, you may, but it'll be fine. You'll be in a better place.
I think after that answer, I think I'm going to title this episode Jon Michael Has Questions for Real.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Love it.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we sign off here?
No, I haven't created the page or anything like that. I mean, Enigma Investigations is up. I will probably be transforming those pages into Jon Michael Has Questions. And Enigma will probably just become a tab on my website, which also isn't currently fully functional and will be changing. So just a lot of change right now. Um, but if you want to follow my nonsense and see some of the questions I ask, like why do ghosts wear clothes? Um, which I think is a great question. Like do spirits like have like it's clothing? Like do spirits like create ghost clothing? Like
Right.
like what does that look like and why does it happen? It's so funny because you'll get answers like because they were buried in clothes. Well, why does that mean that
It
they
shouldn't
have
matter.
clothes? You know what I
That's
mean?
not,
Right? Like what is that? Why is that
yeah.
important? And so, anyways, I ask all sorts of questions, and I promise I am not trying to make fun of anybody. It's just legitimate questions that I'm curious about. And so you can find those pages should be going up in the next couple of days. Jon Michael Has Questions. Enigma Investigations will still exist. It's just going to kind of be secondary. You'll be able to find that stuff too. Um, and I'm sure like I can post more, give you more information, Nikki, and you can put it anywhere. But that's where you can find just any nonsense about my life you would be curious about for some reason. Um, but as I said, if you just, and I hope you would not glaze over for Nikki's podcast. Like, how dare you? But if for some reason I was just super boring, or you just wanted to throw stuff at me, which I hope you didn't. Um, if there's anything you can get out of this, it's just again, like I just hope you never stop asking questions. To me, that's the most important thing you can do. And don't assume you've got it all right. I guarantee you don't. I don't. So just never stop asking questions, and I promise you, you will become a better person for it. Um, so I think that's it. I think that's all I
Yeah.
got.
Amen to that. Okay, so thank you again for doing this,
Yeah,
taking time out and hanging out with me on a nice Tuesday evening. I
for
appreciate it.
sure. Yeah, no, I love yapping. It's my favorite thing to do.
Thanks again to Jon for sharing his thoughts and questions, and thanks to you for listening. If you are interested in sharing your own paranormal experiences, or if you have an idea for an episode topic, please reach out through the contact form at peeppodcast.com. That's PEEP podcast.com. Remember, that stands for People Experiencing Everyday Paranormal. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter to keep up with the podcast and all my creative and energetic endeavors. I only email it once a month. You'll receive briefs on recent episodes, information on any upcoming appearances, plus some additional fun stuff, like a free Choose Your Own Adventure book. If you enjoy the podcast, please give it some rating love on your favorite podcast app. Share it with friends and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Ratings, reviews, and shares help platforms like Apple Podcast and Spotify know it's worthy of surfacing to new listeners. And as we build our audience, we have more chances to hear their paranormal stories. A huge thank you to everyone who has given the show some love. You're helping it grow. No matter how you support the show, listening, telling others about it, or any other way, I absolutely appreciate your being here. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and be well.